Hello everyone, welcome to PhanTV, where today we're joined by Phantom's captain, number 29, Weldon, after the news that he'll be retiring from ice hockey at the end of the season. So Will, thanks for joining us. I guess firstly, what makes it the right time for you to call it a day?
It's a tough one. It's obviously something that's taken a lot of time to think about, and I think in an ideal world I'd keep playing for another 10 years, but it's just got to that stage of life where there's a lot of different pressures outside of hockey in terms of work commitments and just general life steps. So it's been more and more challenging the older that I've got to kind of balance the two things, hockey and life, and it just feels like it's the right time to kind of step away from hockey and really focus on the other side of things.
Is there a point specifically that you thought in your head that, yeah, this was going to be your last one, or has it been sort of in the works for a little while?
Honestly, it's probably been in the works for a little while. I'd kind of contemplated it at different times, even before this season. You know, I wasn't 100% sure if I'd be able to commit to coming back this season, but it worked out that I was able to. But kind of going into this season, I had that thought in my head that it was likely going to be the last season, and obviously didn't need to or necessarily want to commit to that earlier on. But as the season's gone on, it's, you know, pressures, as I say, with work and things like that are continuing to increase, and it felt the right time to make that commitment and decision.
Okay, so you originally arrived here in 2011. I guess when you walked in here for the first time as a Phantoms player, you probably didn't think you'd be sitting here now.
No, you obviously, especially at that age, you know, I was signed probably as a 17-year-old, came here as an 18-year-old, and you're not thinking really past the weekend, let alone, you know, the season or however many years down the line. So I think it's certainly a proud, or it will be a proud moment when I do look back at everything that's been achieved over that time. And you know, I've basically grown up, and this has been a huge part of my life. So yeah, I probably wouldn't have guessed that I'd be sat here so long down the line, but I'm happy to be here and have been able to have done so.
Well, you've played over 575 games, over 100 goals, 200 assists, 900 penalty minutes. How do you assess that time, I guess, just maybe summarising it a little bit? It's a long time to summarise, but...
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting hearing the stats, because I think certainly goals, assists aren't what people probably think of. If you said to, you know, describe my game, they probably wouldn't say goal scorer, playmaker. But it's nice to obviously know that I didn't actually honestly know that it was over 100 and 200 for goals and assists, and I knew more about the penalty minutes, because that was always a thing with teammates that would joke about, that I was going for the record, which I think from a Phantoms perspective I've managed to achieve, if you can call that an achievement. But I think it's more, when I look back over those years, it's what we've actually achieved as a club. Obviously, it's the silverware, it's the trophies that really will stick with me and live long in the memory.
Okay, so we did this in an interview during COVID, but we'll just go back to the start for you. So obviously, Nottingham, where you started, where you grew up, all of that, was the original plan for you to just progress there and probably go to the Panthers? Was that how you saw it going, or was it sort of one step at a time?
I think obviously as a kid, again, you probably don't have the benefit of experience, and you know, you've not sat here now. I can look back with hindsight, but as a kid, I certainly very much the dream was to play for the Panthers, and you know, I'm pleased that whilst it might have been for a short period of time, I'm able to say that I achieved that. I think, yeah, I probably would have wanted to have a career as a Panther at that time, but again, as you get to different stages of life, it's what what path are you going to go down? And that would have meant a serious commitment to ice hockey in terms of doing that as a full-time profession, and ultimately that would have meant not going to university. It would have meant not working alongside these things that when you do look at it with a bit more of a long-term vision, it's what I decided was, you know, important to do. And I think, you know, looking back, I wouldn't change how any of it's gone.
And you represented GB under 18s, under 20s, so how's that experience, and maybe is there a story that you can tell that it isn't too risky?
God, it feels such a long time ago that I can't really remember an awful lot, but it is that thing. It's you know, playing for your country. It's the pinnacle. Obviously, doing that at under 18s and under 20s, I was extremely proud. And still looking back, I can always tell people that that's something that I've done. I've represented my country. So there's no real memories or stories that comes from that time, but it's just one thing that I do think is quite funny is the fact that on those teams I was obviously playing with Luke Ferrara. At the time we'd obviously were the same age, so we played England from under 14s and then all the way through to GB 20s, and obviously Peterborough being a southern team, Nottingham being a northern team, we never really played against each other. Other than at national finals and such. But it's, you know, it's interesting that I came here and Feds was kind of the face that I knew, and it's probably gone full circle now that Feds has come back as that experienced guy and leader, and it'll be finishing my kind of hockey career alongside him.
So as we said before, you arrived here in 2011. You wore an A for the first time, 2013-14, and you've been captain, obviously, for the last 3 years. I guess that must fill you with a lot of pride, maybe as a bit of an adopted Peterborean in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I think, again, I said, you know, not being known for scoring goals, being a playmaker, but I think that is something that I have been proud to do, is be a leader within the dressing room, and it's perhaps not something that the fans see in terms of you don't have access and you're not able to see what goes on off the ice, but it is something that I've felt is a strong point of kind of my character, if not as a hockey player. And it seriously was such a privilege to be asked, you know, with Jimmy retiring, to take over the captaincy. And, you know, I hope that my teammates would say that I've been a good captain and, you know, been able to support them with that leadership and experience. And yeah, I think it's, you know, I do look at Peterborough as, when it comes to hockey, as my home. It's funny how these things change, obviously, being from Nottingham. I think it's certainly the team that I'll always support, and I'll certainly be coming back to watch.
I guess to reinforce the point you've just made, you're a player's player 3 times, coach's player once, and you won the Best Clubman award as well in the time you've had here. So it shows that leadership's always been there, because you're winning those awards all the way back at the start as well. So it's a testament to you really and what you've done. In addition to that, playoff champion, Autumn Cup winner, National Cup winner twice, South playoff winner, and you obviously had your testimonial as well for your service here. So what are your best memories maybe from the testimonial, and how grateful were you to be awarded with the chance to have that?
Yeah, it honestly was such a, again, I probably keep using the same words, but it was such a privilege to be offered the opportunity to do it. I think obviously having been here for 12, 13 years now, it's only, obviously Z had one early on, Jimmy had one, and then myself in that time period as the third one. So it's not something that obviously many players get to do. And yeah, it was a good day. And I think what's nice with the testimonial is you do get a lot of people back that you've maybe not seen for a long time. And yeah, just to get everyone out on the ice, teammates from down the years was nice. And getting people like Craig Scott travelling over from Canada, it meant so much, and seeing there was 500-600 people in the building, and it is one of those things where sometimes you have to pinch yourself and think, wow, these people have actually come, to support me, as well as seeing, obviously, hopefully a entertaining, I won't say it's a competitive but entertaining game on the ice. So yeah, it's a real privilege.
So we've had a list of injuries from your dad, actually, that probably shows your commitment to the club. So we're just going to go through a few of them. Dislocated shoulder, skate to the face, which you had multiple stitches for, a puck to the ear, a broken nose, a split tongue, 2 broken teeth, black eyes, an ankle sprain, and probably the one that people might be most interested in, 2 written off cars. So again, during COVID, you did an interview with Norts, Leaves and Greg Pick. But for the people that haven't seen that, do you want to go into the car situations you've had down the years?
Well, the first one, I forget when it was, but it was on the way to a game, and it was actually against MK here, and I literally had the car a week, and it was one of those trying to find the buttons or the dial to turn the heating on, because it had literally just started to maybe snow, either rain or snow. And as I'm kind of looking for that, I've gone to the right slightly and ended up in the central reservation on the A1. But luckily we were obviously all okay, and made it to the game and were able to play.
Definitely some interesting stories from that car, from what I remember of your interview with those guys. It seems like it's always been a laugh regardless of who you've had in there.
Yeah, it honestly is such a commitment in the sense of travelling that distance. It's obviously not too far up the road from here, but it does get long, and it's an hour and a half each way for us, and you can imagine doing that at least 3 times a week plus the away game. It can get quite tiresome, so it's been important to have good people in that car, and honestly that's one of the things. I won't miss the travel, but I will certainly miss some of the things that happen and the laughs that we have in that car.
Okay, so bringing it back to Phantoms then, on the ice, I should have probably warned you about a couple of these, but you say not one to feel like you're really remembered for your goals, but have you got any favourites, maybe 2 or 3 favourites?
I think, again, it's similar to what I said, in the sense what really sticks out are the trophies, and I might not have scored a lot of goals, but I have scored some timely goals. Obviously, it probably is partly for the fact that it was last season, but that run that we had to win in that cup, I think we won 1-0 away in MK and scored that 1 goal, and then the home leg, it was a set play that we have on a face-off where we'll call a push-through, and won the face-off on a push-through, and the seas kind of parted, and I had a clear route to the net and was able to score there. And then in the final, the first leg, I think it was Glennie behind the net on a power play, and to be honest, I was probably out of position in terms of how we set up, but had filled in a spot, and the puck came, and I was able to one-time that and obviously score there again. So I think they're 3 goals that, just based on what it ended up meaning, probably stick with me. I think there's goals that I remember that were, nice finishes, but it's probably those 3 that I would say I'm proudest of, along with one in the cup final at home against Sheffield. But again, we play hockey for the trophies, and being able to contribute on the score sheet for those trophies is quite a cool memory.
And a bit more generic then, I guess there's a big moment behind us there, but favourite moments from your time with the club? Yeah,
broken record, but it is the trophies, and I think that one that's behind us, it takes some beating. It's obviously, it feels so long ago, but to do it when, we were complete underdogs going into that weekend. Telford had absolutely walked the league. They'd completely, probably ruined the sport at this level over a few years with some of the things that happened. But they signed, they're the Real Madrid of the EPL. They'd gone and just thrown money at people, signed really high level imports. They're paying guys on year-round contracts, and nobody could compete with that off the ice, and it led to their success on the ice that season, and they were far and away a superior team in the regular season to everyone else. So going into that semi-final, nobody, as I say, gave us any chance whatsoever. So to turn them over, and then it felt like fate from there. We were playing Manchester in that final. I've never gone into a game, especially that meant so much, just knowing that we were going to win. It just felt, and that perhaps can be a dangerous mindset to have going into that game. But honestly, it was the easiest in a way. It was the easiest game to play because it just felt, even with some of the things Tony had last game, where you could say people looking at that as fate, that he would go out winning. There was never any doubt from us, and it was a good celebration afterwards, and I think it made us as a club probably hungry for more.
Yeah, I think to reinforce that, sitting in the stands at Coventry after we'd beaten Telford, I think Phantoms fans had the same feeling, that a performance almost as good as that one and you'd be over the line, and obviously that came to fruition, which was nice for everyone. What do you think you'll miss most about this place, about this team, the fans? What do you think it'll be?
I think one of the things is, and you hear this with any ex-sportsman, is you miss the locker room. I think so. You can't really replace that going to work, and you don't have quite the same banter and closeness, really. You spend so much time together that you do forge really close relationships. So I'll certainly miss that, and I don't think I'll miss the training. But I think the thing that will be impossible to replicate is obviously being out there on a Sunday evening with however many hundred people in here kind of cheering us on, and the buzz you get from that. I'll certainly miss that.
And down the years, I think it's probably been said quite a lot by people in British hockey in general that you're the sort of character that people hate to play against, but guys that have played against you and then signed here and played with you have said, like, you're the best guy to have on side. So I guess, do you think that's a fair reflection? I know you've had battles with probably every team we've played in league and cup, whatever format it's been. There's been battles with everyone. So do you think that's a fair one? Is that one you're happy with?
At the end of the day, we play a contact sport, and we play a sport that, other than combat sports, there's not many sports you're allowed to punch each other in the face, or at least, I guess we're not allowed, but not be punished more severely than sitting in the box for 5 minutes for a rest. So I kind of think if people enjoyed playing against me, I'd probably done something wrong. It's certainly the way I've tried to play the game, and it's probably changed again. As I've grown up, I try and not do some of the stupid stuff I probably was doing as a 18, 19-year-old running around. But yeah, I think I take that as a compliment, really.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, and thanks for everything.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, and just thank you to obviously everyone out there for the support over the years.